Yeah, lots more on Frank's return a little bit later. But let's start with the headline fixture of the weekend. Liverpool against Arsenal at Anfield. Let's hear from both managers, Mikel Arteta, but first, Jurgen Klopp.
Mikel, good afternoon, good to see you.
Hello.
Can we start off with team news for Sunday and any developments and updates on William Saliba?
No, no real changes in the rest of the players that were still injured. We have some hope with one of them. Tomorrow maybe he's able to train, but we have to see.
And that is?
I'm not going to tell you.
9 games to go, it's the business end now of this title race. Are you genuinely able to enjoy it? And can you switch off? And do you switch off?
We do enjoy it, we have to enjoy it, and we really need to embrace the moment and go for it. And the team is full of enthusiasm and positivity, and we know that we have a big challenge, but it's a big opportunity to go to Anfield and do something that we haven't done for many years, and that's what is driving the team in the last few days.
Mikel, I want to take you back to the corresponding fixture last season, and that documentary showed how you approached and prepared your players for that game by the "You'll Never Walk Alone" music at the training ground. Can you give us an insight into how you prepared this time? Have you done anything special that you can tell us about?
For us, it's something normal. We prepare every game in a different way, and we prepare the context, we prepare the team mentally, we prepare the scenario that we're going to be playing for, and that day we decided to do that.
Last couple from me. The last league game at Anfield, it got a little bit feisty with you and Jurgen Klopp on the sidelines.
That's football. That happens in football, and after that we hug each other and move on. And last time we were together, nothing happens. I have full respect and admiration for what they've done, him and the coaching staff at Liverpool, and we moved on.
But did you learn anything about yourself, and would you approach that kind of situation differently this time?
I don't know. I have to be in the situation again. So I don't know. I reacted that day, and the way I reacted to defend our players the best possible way, and that's it. Hopefully, I don't like seeing me like this, so hopefully not.
Just finally, you mentioned that you haven't won there for so long. You were in the team when you last won at Anfield.
Yeah.
Have you used that at all as preparation for your players to tell them this is the feeling you can get? And what are your abiding memories of that day?
We've been in a few grounds that we haven't won in 17, 22 years, and another 18 in another one of them, and we have managed to do that. So we are capable of doing. We know that we're going to have to be at our very best to win the game, and certainly better than we were there, especially the second half last year when we just opened up and allowed Liverpool to attack open space in a really comfortable way. So we're going to have to be better than last year, that's for sure.
Just on
Check on team news first of all. Virgil, Diaz, Thiago, Naby. How are they? Anyone likely to be back for
Well, sure. Of course, completely normal back in training. Luis and Thiago training completely normal. We have to. The plan with Luis is that he will be available 100% for Leeds. So. Just again, it looks good, everything is fine, but it was a long injury, and so we have to be careful, and we will probably not involve him for Sunday. Thiago looks slightly different. He was not out that long. Trained now 3-4 times with the team, and might be available, but we have to check how he feels today.
You know about your record against Arsenal at Anfield. Last time they took a point was 2016. Last time they won at Anfield was 2012. But do you sense that this Arsenal is pretty different to what you competed against before in your time?
Yeah, I don't know. No. I knew Arsenal before I arrived at Liverpool, obviously, but never felt. Oh, yes, I did actually in the Champions League, right, with Dortmund. So yeah, it's obviously different team, clear. Mikel is building this team for a few years now, and obviously the outcome is pretty impressive. The way they play is fun to watch, to be honest. It's super lively, really good football, top players on the pitch, good match plans. So yeah, good. I know. It's not exactly what you can say about us in a moment, so that shows you what is the situation. But at least for a while. We can mention again. It's still it's Anfield, so we are at home, and we still have to show reaction after reaction after reaction. We have to and improvement, and that's what we will absolutely try on Sunday.
It is a huge game for both sides. Psychologically, though, as we saw right at the top of the show, Anfield is a place where Arsenal haven't got the best results in recent years, Izzy. Psychologically, as players, will they go to Anfield fearing Liverpool, even though Liverpool aren't in the best form right now?
Oh, that's an excellent question, because we've seen in the past that Mikel Arteta has prepared his team to play Anfield by putting the Anfield noise and You'll Never Walk Alone on the speakers at the training ground to try and make the players sort of accustomed to the atmosphere at Anfield. But I tell you what, it's one thing preparing for it, but it's another thing being there. And the atmosphere when it generates inside that stadium is unbelievable. And that is something which I think the Arsenal players this season will better cope with than in previous years, because I feel like they've all just grown under Arteta's management, and Arteta's grown as well. We've seen he's had some pretty excitable moments on the touchline at Anfield, hasn't he? Let's say the least, with Jurgen Klopp. And I just feel like he's definitely matured since then, and he'll be ready for it tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, these are just some of the goals that we've seen Liverpool put past Arsenal in the last few years, Sam. What do you think we can expect from them tomorrow? Do you expect this to completely reverse?
From Liverpool? Yeah, I do expect it to reverse. I think Arsenal will be too good. In terms of like the atmosphere and dealing with it once you're there versus preparing for it, I'm wary of making everything I talk about City reference, but I've been at Anfield for big games against City, and Gary Neville always says, you've got to ride out the first 20 minutes. And if you do, and City do that by keeping the ball and keeping Liverpool at arm's length, it does quieten the crowd down. And also, I think the crowd will be going in. They might be whipped up at the start, but I think with the whole situation around Liverpool at the moment, there's not that bite in there like it would be if it was a challenging game against City. So I think if Arsenal go, they start well against a team that aren't really at their standard, well, they're nowhere near their own standards. The fans are a bit unsure. But I think within 15, 20 minutes, you could see Arsenal bossing it, and then Arsenal rack up the goals from there. I don't know about rack up the goals. I'm not saying they'll get 3 or 4, although maybe in the predictions I did say they get 3. But I think Arsenal have really grown, and obviously Liverpool have dropped off quite a bit. And if you put those two things together, I can only see Arsenal doing it.
The only thing is, though, is that we've seen Liverpool this season, as Sam said, not being anywhere near their best. That's clear to see. They're 8th in the table as things stand, and obviously Arsenal are top. But when Liverpool haven't been at their best, they've still put 7 past Manchester United just a few weeks ago. So I'm not comparing Arsenal to Manchester United, but they clearly have the ability to turn it on for certain games.
Yeah, they do. That's right. And I think that what I'm seeing from this Liverpool side this season especially is just inconsistency. Like I say, they've put 7 past United, but they're failing to pick up points elsewhere. And I just think the midfield has changed for Liverpool. I'm a midfielder myself, and analyse the midfield a lot when I'm watching football. And I'm just looking at the way the dynamics work, and I can see, to go off what Sam said, if the Arsenal midfield get working tomorrow when they play against Liverpool, I just feel like they're going to overrun Liverpool in midfield, and that's where the chances are going to create. And I can't help but think Martinelli's going to get the best of Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back if he plays. And I just think that generally speaking, Arsenal's structure and their system is going to be too much for Liverpool.
Well, if he plays is a really interesting point, because in the last match, Jurgen Klopp made a fair few changes. That's not something that's been characteristic of Jurgen Klopp in the start of the season, perhaps. Obviously, the last couple of games, he has changed things a bit. Salah and Gakpo were both on the bench to start, as was Trent Alexander-Arnold. Do you expect all of those players to come back in for this?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because, like you say, it's not something he normally does. And also, over the years, even when they were at the top, they didn't, even years ago when they were really at the top, when the bench was like Minamino and Shaqiri, they were fine for the last 20 minutes, half an hour, but he never rotated too much at the start of the game and never really had to. And they always managed it really well. But now it just seems to have got to the stage where there's an element of, well, they just played Man City and then they've got another game. So it makes sense, sports science-wise, to make those changes. But it just feels like Klopp's thinking, well, what can I try now?
Yeah.
Like other managers, because he said, didn't he, before the game, the elephant in the room is, I've not been sacked. But with other managers, you get sacked before you have to try plan X or whatever. It feels like what he's up to now. It's like, okay, well, if I just change everyone, we'll see what happens. But it didn't really work anyway, because I thought they should have lost against Chelsea.
Part of the wider problem, what I think at Liverpool is fatigue. And I don't mean that by numbers. I don't think the amount of sports science that's used in the game now, stats are used to sort of gauge players' performances and what they can go and do week on week. But like Sam said, they've had to rotate because the players are fatigued and not able to sustain that sort of high-intensity press that we've seen from Klopp so often.
Yeah, you mentioned a minute ago about the midfield, so I'm guessing Virgil van Dijk being available and coming back into the side for the game on Sunday probably doesn't make all that much of a difference if midfield is where their real issue is.
Well, if we're being really critical, Van Dijk's definitely not been himself this season, and that's been a key feat of how Liverpool have been so secure at the back with the back four and the communication of Van Dijk into the midfield. And Fabinho, he's not working. He looks really out of place, and you kind of think, well, if you take Van Dijk out of the side for injury or whatnot, you go, okay, well, how's Fabinho going to function? Fabinho's performance has dropped. So it just seems something isn't quite right there. And my opinion is that I think it's fatigue.
From an Arsenal perspective then, Sam, obviously they're absolutely desperate to win this title this season and not drop any points between now and the end of the campaign. There isn't long left. With this match, if they win it, is that pretty much the title done? No?
No way. How could it be? How could it be? There's
on paper,
still so many games to go.
On paper, this game and the Man City game on the 26th of April are the two biggest games
If they were to beat
left.
City, then you think, okay, because then, presuming the gap stays as it is, get down to 5. But then Arsenal win, and it's 8 points with a few games to go. They're obviously much closer to it. But they can't win this and then think that's it over. You would have to say from the outside, they've passed another big test, like a major test. But they've got difficult games to come. And, we've seen this with title races, not so much in the past because City and Liverpool have just taken it to incredible levels, but normal title races before this City and Liverpool era, teams would lose in like April and May, and that would be normal. But recently, you think if a team drops points, that's it. There's so long to go, and, we're so accustomed to going back to like 7 or 8 years ago when City won it on the Pellegrini. They lost at Anfield, and everyone was like, oh, that's it, that's the title wrapped up. Because that was like middle of April. And then obviously the Gerrard slip happened and all that kind of stuff. Mad stuff happens in title races.
Well, aside from the fact that we've seen Manchester City do it before, let's just park that for a second because we're going to come on and talk about Man City in a minute. But from an Arsenal side of things, have you seen any warning signs that the fans should be worried about, that they are going to slip up?
No.
Well, I keep thinking, next fixture is going to be a warning sign, and then they overcome it.
Yeah.
So for me, they're ticking every single box at the moment. When you think they're under every test against the opposition.
It was that Villa one, wasn't it? Just after the City
Exactly,
game.
and I think the only fear that Arsenal can have, and it's not one specific game, but it's just the whole concept of being chased by City. And if you're being chased by anyone, you don't want to be chased by City because of the mentality at that club.
And at the moment as well, they're boosted by having Gabriel Jesus back and straight back into the starting 11 and scores 2 goals as well.
They've got everything going for them, and the only reason to think they might not win the league is like just this may happen. They may fall apart. They may not be used to the title pressure. The closer it comes, the more nervous they get. But people have been saying that, thinking it would happen in January, February, March. Now we're in April. It hasn't happened yet.
But you look at those moments, like with Jesus being out injured for such a long period of time, and you go, well, who's going to score the goals? Nketiah.
Yeah.
He came in and he's done excellently well, and it just goes that is the signs of a title-winning team.
Okay.